The money's gone.
That's Senator Tom Coburn on the floor of the United States Senate, and he's talking about our Social Security retirement dollars. More specifically, the retirement dollars taken out of our paychecks since 1983 that far exceeded Social Security retiree obligations, mandated when this body passed Social Security reform legislation in 1983. Here's what President Ronald Reagan said at the signing ceremony.
Today, all of us can look each other square in the eye and say we kept our promises.
And here's what Speaker of the House Tip O'Neill said.
All work together and the system does work. This is a happy day for America.
The legislation was billed as a 75-year fix and was based on a mutual trust. One party, working Americans, would sacrifice by giving up an additional piece of their paychecks, and trusted the other party, their government, would save and invest the extra retirement dollars, creating a cash reserve, providing funding relief for the now retiring 78 million baby boomers. Senator Coburn again.
Congresses under both Republican and Democrat control have stolen money from Social Security and spent it.
Well, 36 years into the 75-year fix.
And facts are coming to light that suggest our trust has been violated in the most egregious of ways. And politicians today are reluctant to confront reality. And here's the reality.
The money's gone. It's been used for another purpose.
Every sacrificial dollar that working Americans have paid into the Social Security Trust Fund since 1983 has been transferred to the General Revenue Fund, where retirement dollars are commingled with income and corporate tax receipts and lose their unique identity. They become nothing more than another tax dollar, and everyone knows what politicians do with tax dollars. They spend them, in this case, like the senator said, for another purpose, like financing wars, paying for targeted tax cuts, funding political earmarks, and stocking their political candy store with our retirement dollars. This taxing scheme has sucked billions of retirement dollars from the paychecks of working Americans
Over the past 36 years.
Retirement dollars that would have been deposited in local financial institutions, bundled and loaned out as business expansion and or business startup loans, creating new jobs for Main Street. Ever wonder why Main Street and middle-class financial issues have deteriorated over the past 30 years? Maybe it's been part of their plan all along. And how have so many generations of politicians been able to deceive so many generations of working Americans?
We put paper money in there, so there's no question that there's an IOU in there.
The paper money, or IOUs, the senator refers to happens like this. When working Americans paid the extra Social Security tax dollar into the Social Security Trust Fund, it was transferred to the General Revenue Fund. Politicians covered up their theft of the retirement dollar by issuing a special obligation bond, or IOU, from the General Revenue Fund to the Social Security Trust Fund for every transferred retirement dollar. This accounting trickery allowed them to count the same dollar more than once, as they call the IOU an asset on the Social Security Trust Fund balance sheet. They call the same dollar income when transferred to the General Revenue Fund, and now the same dollar has one more face, and that is as a General Revenue Fund debt owed to the Social Security Trust Fund that puts those same working Americans on the hook to pay again plus interest. And how many retirement dollars has this taxing scheme allowed politicians to steal?
We have stolen $2.6 trillion from it.
In today's world, some politicians are torn about keeping a pledge they signed to not raise taxes. Where in the HE double hockey sticks were they when $2.6 trillion of our retirement dollars were being stolen from working Americans? And why weren't they torn then the same way they're torn now?
And what does ex-President
Obama suggest we do?
We have found common ground before. Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill came together to save Social Security.
With all due respect, Mr. President, we've been there, done that. There's an old saying, and it goes like this, Mr. President.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
And how about the co-chair of the Simpson-Bowles Debt Commission, Senator Alan Simpson? What does he have to say to our grandkids whose neck he helped put in a $2.6 trillion financial noose?
Grandchildren now don't write a thank you for the Christmas presents. They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Snoopy Poop Duck.
Senator Simpson wants our grandkids to write a $2.6 trillion thank you note. That's the height of political arrogance, and perhaps explain why the U.S. Congress approval rating is a dismal 10%. And by the way, would you rather deal with one of those grandchildren with their hat on backwards, or someone like Simple Simpson, whose head is on backwards? Some are beginning to believe this body has put a big yellow streak right down the middle of red, white, and blue. Oh, glory. Hi, my name is Jim Grease, and if your neighbor, the church secretary, or your local banker were stealing your money and covering it up in this manner, you'd want to see some heads roll. And quite frankly, if politicians aren't ready to confront this issue, then it's time to consider rolling their political heads. Together we face a significant challenge, and the challenge is to remove the yellow streak from the red, white, and blue, and to restore some semblance of credibility that gains the respect of our children and grandchildren again. To that end, a proposal has been developed that begins restoring the heart and soul of America. That is, middle-class working Americans, their families, and the communities they call home. The proposal is called AmeriCare Today or Act, and has been endorsed by Judge Ray Holbrook, the Texas judge who implemented the Galveston retirement plan that keeps their retirement dollars on their Main Street out of the hands of their politicians, and it's been doing so for the past
36 years.
Here are a few highlights of the Act proposal. Retirement dollars never leave the workers' local community. Member-owned community investment pods or SIPs are designated in each of the 435 congressional districts that house the workers' new, portable, worker-owned individual community investment retirement accounts, or an ICIRA. Retirement dollars are invested in local bonding needs, such as bridges, roads, and schools. Wall Street banksters are no longer needed. A safety net ensures against catastrophic losses in the workers' retirement accounts. The $2.6 trillion special obligation bond general revenue fund liability is turned into a contingent liability over time. Accountability boards, known as the Regional District Founder or ODF boards, provide local checks and balances at every level of government, ensuring against a future taxing scheme like the one that has allowed politicians to steal $2.6 trillion of our retirement dollars. There's more, much more, to the Act proposal. However, one thing should be clear. Playing their political game of calling our neighbors a name and pointing a finger of blame has gotten us nowhere. So whether you're a 99%er, a 1%er, a coffee drinker, or a tea sipper, it's time for neighbors and neighborhoods to come together and put an end to this political nonsense that's costing middle-class working Americans their dignity. So join us by going to
repairthebridge.com. Click on the Repair the Bridge tab and add your name to the national map and help us put an end to their political games.
It truly is time to act. Yellow streaks don't belong on the red, white, and blue.